All right, we're here for Stellar Blade. This is going to be my one and only Stellar Blade video, but I just want to show a little bit of what this game is like. I've said that it's a similar to like a Souls game and also similar to Sekiro. It's obviously not at the level, I think, of any of those games, but it is similar, and it's pretty good. So if you got time and you're a fan of those games and you want to play something that's similar, this is worth it. And it has its own kind of cool story, a kind of science fiction story that you can enjoy in its own right. So here's Eve, and we're about to fight a boss. The way in which this game is probably would appeal, I think this game would actually probably appeal a lot to people whose favorite part of the Souls type games are the boss fights, because I think the boss fights are quite similar. Of course, I played all of mine on easy mode, so I don't really know how similar they are for people that are used to doing them on hard mode. But I think they're probably pretty similar. So let's take a look at this fight here and see what we can see. Even though this game is a lot faster paced, I think, than like Dark Souls, I wouldn't just call it mashing. So first of all, we have here, a gigantic, horrible, ugly looking boss, right? So that's similar to Dark Souls. Here's our character. We got a sword. And then the idea is to parry. You can dodge, but also to parry. And certain types of enemy attacks will have certain highlights, like a blue circle will glow, or a yellow circle, or a pink circle. That gives you like a warning kind of about what kind of attack it's about to be. But mostly, what I'm doing here mostly is parrying, except for when I miss and then he nails me. But basically, you try to parry, yellow attack, you have to dodge that. And then you try to get as many hits as you can. And it's an interesting system. If you look up at the boss's health, there's actually 3 different, I guess, rows there. You've got a row of sort of big white dots, and below that kind of 2 rows of fainter dots, and then yellow dots at the bottom. And all 3 of those are something different. The big white dots at the top, that's the health. The middle row of dots is the enemy's shield, which you have one too. The shield absorbs a percentage of the damage until it's gone, and then it doesn't absorb any, but it regenerates, and the boss can get it all back sometimes. And then there are the yellow dots. The yellow dots, when those you work those down by hitting good parries, and then once they're all gone, the enemy's open for an attack. And you can see right there, I was just shooting the boss. This game has a pretty cool system. You have your sword, but you also have a gun. And so you can switch back and forth between gun type attacks and shooting type attacks. Now the gun is very convenient because of its range and distance, so they compensate by making it kind of weak. The gun's not that strong, not nearly as strong as the sword and some of the attacks you can do. Now sometimes you're seeing it pop up on the screen, it's telling like push a button, like circle L1 and whatnot. That is telling me like what to push to avoid the enemy's attack. And if that seems ridiculous to you, that's because that is a function of the easy mode that I'm on. If you play on normal or hard mode, that's not there. Anyway, this guy's almost dead. When he dies, it'll switch to a second video that's a little longer that shows me going through a bit of a level. This was something I started to do with bosses, was once they were down to almost nothing, then I would just shoot them to death. Alright, so that's the end of this guy. We're going to finish him off. Now one thing you'll notice, the character Eve, there's a little flying drone that's right next to her. It's standing on to her left right there. The drone is really interesting. You do not control the drone. The drone is an NPC, and in story, the drone is one of Eve's friends or partners who is not physically present, is back at HQ more or less, but is using computer and wireless signals to tap into the drone. So your friend controls the drone and can also talk through the drone. So, you get this. In this game, you get the experience that Eve is never alone. Eve has her friend with her in the form of the drone, and the drone will talk to you, and the drone will basically converse with you throughout the game, and they advance a lot of the story through the communication that Eve has with the drone. But the other cool thing about the drone is that the drone is Eve's gun. So the way it's formed right now, it's not in a gun form, but it basically does like a Transformers move. Hold on a second. Here's the next video. So fast forwarding now, this is pretty late in the game. This is a late game level, and we're going to go through a little bit of a level and then have another boss fight. Anyway, the drone does like a Transformers move and basically jumps onto Eve's wrist and starts shooting. And it does it instantly. So you press the button to shoot, and boom, the gun is right there. There's no delay. It's actually one of the cooler things about this game design is the way that they turn the drone into a gun. And Eve's sword is her hair beret or something like that. It like folds up into a beret. It's really cool. So both of her weapons, they don't just disappear like in a lot of games. The sword is folded up into her hair beret, and the gun is the drone. And they both turn into what they need to be when the moment comes. The drone can also do like a scan, so kind of like similar like Horizons. You saw Eve just reached up and grabbed behind her hair and pulled out her sword. So this is just a regular enemy right here. And this just shows you a little bit of like regular enemy combat, but it's the same kind of thing. You do some attacks, you try to dodge. When it attacks you, you try to parry. It failed there, got hit, but I got that one. You also have different types of special attacks that use meters that charge up. So you have both beta and burst attacks. And those are special and they're stronger, but you can't do unlimited amounts of them. You have to build them up. You build up beta by doing parries, and you build up burst by, I think, doing dodges. Alright, so that guy's killed. Oh, but he leaves behind a little crawling thing that you have to kill. This game has a cool sci-fi story. I kind of compared it to Horizon. It's like, you just exist in this world. Eve understands it a little bit better than you do, but neither one of you really knows what exactly is going on. And just as the game unfolds, you understand more and more details about why the world is the way it is and what's happening. Oh, it's post-apocalyptic, just like Horizon. And you learn things about the characters. I mean, you know almost right away, you can just tell by sight that Eve is not a completely normal human being. And you come to understand exactly what she is and what everyone else is as the game goes on. I think here is where I decide to use the drone as a gun here, and I'm gonna, yeah. So if you see Eve's hand there on the left, she's got the drone is attached to her hand. We're gonna choose my ammo and shoot. So let's talk about what actually happened with this game. It has two modes, normal and easy mode. I played easy mode the entire way. It was hard enough for me. It felt hard enough. Like, you can't go into it. The easy mode is easy enough that you can't just go in and mash the button and win. You're still going to have to take advantage of the game's systems. You're still going to have to learn the game's systems, like parrying, like using the gun, like upgrading smartly and using special skills. You still have to do all that stuff. And usually whenever I'm choosing a difficulty, I want like the easiest difficulty that still makes you use the game's systems. I don't want to be able to just mash attack and win without, having to go deep into what the game has to offer. But thankfully on this game, easy mode is hard enough that it lets you use all that stuff. So I did easy mode, and I got through to, I believe, the third to last boss. And the third to last boss had a instant kill attack that required some fast action to avoid. Basically, you had to pull out the drone gun and you had to shoot down a few things that were far away, and you had to shoot them really fast while you're getting shot at. And I did this like, I want to say I tried it 6 times, and I couldn't do it in 6 times, and that was sort of frustrating to me. And since I knew that I was almost to the end of the game, and since I knew, especially because I knew that I was trying to hurry up and finish this game because I wanted to play Elden Ring, which came out today, basically, I went ahead and just said, screw it, and I just watched the ending on YouTube. I probably could have done it if I had stuck with it, and maybe if Elden Ring wasn't coming out, I would have just stuck with it because I didn't feel like I was in a hurry, but I just went ahead and did it. Maybe you're wondering, what is Eve wearing? Well, this game has Eve's outfits are the major collectible in this game, and there's like 75 different outfits, and you find them in different chests, and you can buy them, and you can do all this stuff. And so she's got one on now that I chose, but it's obviously not like her real outfit as a space warrior. I think the one from the early part of this video is more faithful in that respect. You can see where it says Lily, where Eve is talking to someone called Lily. That's the drone. That's her friend. This is a camp. It's this game's version of a bonfire. It's got some different things that you can do. This game had a lot of quality of life. It had a high quality of life when it came to the bonfires. The bonfires have stores. They look like vending machines, but basically you can buy any consumable right there. You can buy... It's like having a merchant at every single bonfire, which is pretty convenient. The main consumable that I bought was ammo for the gun. It's not unlimited, so you can buy ammo. And then the phone right there helps you to fast travel. But not all camps have phones. Only certain special camps have phones. So you can't fast travel to every place, but you can to most places. And speaking of travel, is this a linear game or an open world game? They appeared to try to make it exactly half and half. There's basically 2 big open world sections and 3 big linear sections. And when I say big, I mean the linear sections take multiple hours to get through, 3, 4, 5 hours. I think with me, because I go slow, I think it might have even taken 10 hours to get through each linear section. And then the open world sections that are between the linear sections have big areas where you run around and do little tiny quests. The linear levels reminded me a lot of Dark Souls, just in the way that they had secrets and hidden things, hidden little side paths that branched off, and it was easy to run past them. And then the open worlds reminded me of, I guess, every open world game I've ever played. The side quests in this game were not that great in terms of their depth. They were basically just kind of fetch type quests, but I didn't mind it because it's actually good pacing, I think, to have the open world and the linear intermix, because when you get done with a long linear level, I find the linear levels to be sort of stressful and scary and hard. And then the open world with its easy fetch quests, and it's so easy to go, leave wherever you are and go do something else. It's kind of like a nice break. This game has a lot of different ways to upgrade a lot of different equipment, different armors. It basically has, in Souls, in Souls terminology, it has, I would say, 6 different ring slots. 2 of them are special, they're called the exospines, and then 4 of them are a little less special, and they're called the gears. The exospines are really have like pronounced significant benefits, and you choose 2 from a assortment. And then the gears have smaller pronounced benefits, and you choose 4 from an assortment, and you really create your character that way. You create your build that way. The weapon's the same no matter what, but the different exospines and the different gears will help you to magnify different types of powers. So just for example, there's one gear that just makes every hit you do stronger, but there's another gear that recovers HP with every kill. And there's another gear that makes you faster, and there's another gear that you regenerate beta points faster, and that sort of thing. Okay, so here is the site of the second boss fight in this video. So you'll see here in just a minute, it's another kind of giant, gnarly, scary boss. I think I killed this boss quite easily because I had full charges on all of my special attacks, and so I really just sort of unleashed with special attacks. The charges on your special attacks are things that you only get from combat. You can't just buy them or use an item. So I had just fought a lot of regular monsters, and so I was full and happy to unload them on this thing. So, you know, it's funny to watch this and compare it to like my Final Fantasy 16 videos, because I guess in some sense they're both similar in that there's like a lot of fast movement and a lot of flashing lights, but they're really so much different in terms of, you know, what you're doing. Because in Final Fantasy 16, at least in my experience, like you really didn't ever have to react to the enemy really at all. So you just ran up to the enemy, you pressed all your buttons to unload all your attacks, and it really didn't matter what the enemy did to you in the meantime. If they were damaging you, you'd just absorb it, you'd heal later. So it really was just mashing. Whereas this game is not. No, whatever it looks like, it's not. You have to respond to the enemy's attacks while you're attacking it. And if you don't do that, it will kill you. It'll interrupt your attacks and it will kill you. So you have to respond. And I'm doing a lot of responses throughout this fight. A lot of them, some of them are kind of fast, you can't tell because they're parries. But I'm doing a lot of parries. This game, heavily inspired by Sekiro, and one of the things it does that Sekiro did that was so cool was Sekiro had those great, you know, shinobi executions where there's a special animation when you kill the boss, that final hit. And this game does that too. So here's one right now. Sometimes the shinobi executions involve, you know, a quick time button push. I didn't mind that so much. They were easy. All right, well, that's it for the second boss battle, and I think I have about a minute left, so let's rattle off all the things I want to say for the record about Stellar Blade. This was a good game. I wish they didn't do that thing with the third to last boss so that I might have finished it, but that's okay. I still enjoyed it enough to play the sequel if it ever comes out, and I know it's going to because they basically advertised it at the end. And maybe I could even play this game again on a New Game Plus or just start over. I'm going to be playing Elden Ring right now, and that's going to keep me occupied for a while. But I think that if I ever find myself in the near future with just no game to play and I'm wondering what to do, Stellar Blade is still there. And maybe what I'll do is just pick up and go back to that stupid boss and be more patient and try to get that done. But anyway, this is a great game. I was excited to discover it. I hope there are more games like this out there that I just don't know of but are good. But I kind of don't think so. This is a new game. But anyway, alright. That's it. Stellar Blade. Really awesome. Everybody should play it. The end.